going to get a little closer. All right, good afternoon. We're going to start the colloquium. We have a different setup in the back for camera and microphone today than we normally have. That's why I'm standing within several feet of this little device on the podium. We're hoping to get a handheld microphone here shortly, and that will make it easier when we're doing questions. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kelly Rice, and I think she would prefer I called her Kelly. If you know Kelly, she's an energy to be reckoned with. There's beyond a question what she brings to our campus is amazing. She's been here at EOU for about 4 years. She has a bachelor's in health promotion from the University of Montana, a master's in health promotion from the Flatlands of University of Oklahoma. She was very, very particular to tell me that she was happy to be back out of the Flatlands. She has a PhD from Oregon State in physical activity and public health. And again, very happy to be in the Intermountain West again. If you understand the dynamics of what she's going to talk about, it fits. I know Kelly pretty well personally, and so the next stuff is a little bit about her. She's happiest, I think, in my humble opinion, when she's active. All right, and her passion, it really is about health and physical activities. This passion drives her research, and you'll see this, and her lifestyle. I have a story I want to relate to you about Kelly. We have a Mount Emily recreation area here about 2 miles. Well, actually, it's more than that, about 5 miles north of town, and I spend a bit of time up there running the trails. And one day I'm up running a trail, and I can hear somebody talking. And it's like there's nobody around, and down the trail comes Kelly with an iPhone in one hand and earbuds in here, having a conversation with her friend, and she's not out of breath. All right, that's pretty spectacular. Kelly's presentation today is Get Outside After-School Activity Results. Covers her research with kids, getting them jazzed about being outside, and all the health benefits that go with us. Please welcome Kelly Rice.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you guys for taking time out of your day to come listen to my talk about something that I am very passionate about, getting kids outside and being active. So what is this about? This is about getting kids outside, active, because we do know that adolescents, this is a time period where their adoption of behaviors, that risky behaviors that increase their likelihood of developing cancer later in life. This time after school, we have found, is a time where kids are more likely to start drinking, start smoking, decrease their activity levels. They're too young for a job, and they're too old for a babysitter. So they're kind of a little bit lost after school. So this is kind of when all these behaviors come around. We also know that rural adolescents have been shown to consume less fruit and are 30% higher odds of being overweight than their urban counterparts. It is important because childhood obesity is associated with increased cancer, adult onset cancers. Studies have found that time spent outside after school is positively associated with greater physical activity and fitness, as well as less sedentary behavior. A local needs assessment was done by the UC Fit Kids Coalition in 2009, and they went out and asked parents and teachers and kids, what do you think are the facilitators and the barriers to being active and eating healthy in our community? And two main things came out of that for physical activity. One is the kids in this community don't have anything to do if they're not in sports. We don't have YMCAs, we don't have a lot of things that these junior high kids can do after school if they're not in sports. The other thing that came out of it was that we're not using our natural environment. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So when I got here, I became part of the coalition, and I kind of put these two together, and I said, well, that's it. It's an after-school program that's using our mountains, our hills, our lakes, our forests, and it's a match made in heaven for me. So what we did is we proposed and implemented and evaluated a locally driven, sustainable program centered around adolescents to increase physical activity and decrease their risk of engaging in risky cancer behaviors like drinking and smoking, those things. We developed the program around the social cognitive theory, so the variables that help mediate physical activity in kids. And these variables that we used, that we were looking at, is we wanted to increase self-efficacy, outcome expectancy, observational learning, reciprocal determinism, and behavior capability. We also use the self-determination theory to hope to increase intrinsic motivation in these kids so that they're likely to do these behaviors for the rest of their lives. Thus, go ASAP, the Get Outside After School program, activity program. How did we do this? Well, we had 3 amazing capstone students in the physical activity and health department and 1 master's student. And we spent 10 weeks together and developed this program out of these theories, ideas, and training. So these students went through trainings on the theories. They went through wilderness trainings, outdoor leadership training, skill training. What would they need? What was it going to take for them to be able to run this program? Then we went to the middle school and talked to the principal, and he recruited 20 middle school youth for this pilot program for us. We enrolled 18, and by the end of a 20-week program, we still had 13. So we were pretty proud of that. The dropouts we did have were not related to not liking the program. It was the parents didn't feel that they should be participating and having fun, or that they had bad grades. So those were kind of the reasons we had drops. We measured physical activity levels in a couple different ways. We also measured social cognitive variables and self-determination variables. And we also wanted to look at cancer, their knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs when it came to cancer. 10 weeks for the capstone students in their trainings, and then there was a 20-week program. We met every Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5:30 at the middle school. It's a long program. Thus, we came up with a pilot program to increase physical activity and reduce engagement in risky behaviors associated with cancer development. We took a number of different measurements with these kids. They started with accelerometers. Accelerometers are these little devices that we put on their hips, and it measures their acceleration, and we can see how much time they spent in sedentary, light, moderate, vigorous activity. So those of you that don't know, moderate is kind of like if you're late for class, like some of you might know, you walk with briskly. That's considered a moderate pace. So that's you'll understand why that's important later when we show the results. We did Dishman's social cognitive theory. We measured constructs through her measurement tool. We used Christiani's self-determination theory. We used the Healthy Teen Survey, which is also used in the state of Oregon. So we were able to compare our population with the state's population. We had a self-report physical activity, a multiple choice cancer knowledge test. We had a process evaluation, as well as focus groups for both the parents and the kids afterwards, or a parent survey and a focus group with the kids. So as you can see, there was a lot of measurement going on, and these were at multiple time frames. So on Mondays, we started every Monday lecture with a 20-minute cancer prevention lecture, and then we went into skill building. So let's say we were going snowshoeing on Wednesday. We brought the snowshoes. We showed them the parts of the snowshoe, how to put them on, how to take them off, what kind of gear you need to have a successful snowshoe adventure. And then for this particular example, we made snowshoes out of twigs and branches. And then we went to the back of the school and had snowshoe races. So that's kind of what the Mondays would look like. It was skill building, it was introduction, and then it was doing some sort of activity closer to town. And then on Wednesday, we grabbed the bus and we took off to Morgan Lake, Mira, Meacham, wherever it was, and went and participated in the activity that they just learned that new skill of. We also had 3 weekend trips. Anthony Lakes was an incredible partner of ours. For $10, the kid, $10 a piece, which the grant paid for, the kids got lessons, rentals, and a lift ticket for the day per kid. So they were able to choose if they wanted snowboarding, if they wanted skiing, if they wanted to do both, and then they spent the day at Anthony Lakes. The next time we went up there, in order to increase intrinsic motivation, one of the constructs is autonomy. We wanted them to have a choice. So they could go skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, or cross-country skiing. Because you can do all of those fun things up there, right? And then the last one day that we went out, we went up to Spring Mountain. We took mountain bikes. we took rock climbing gear, and we took all the camping, cooking supplies that they would need for the backpacking trip that was going to be in about 4 weeks from then. So we taught them how to use the whisper lights, the stoves, and then they had a choice to go rock climbing, hiking, or mountain biking, and then they could switch off throughout the day. So we spent the entire day up there. Oh, we also did a 3-day backpacking trip at the end of the program as a big kind of celebration for them all. And they all knew how to use the stoves by then. So, as you can see, we had a lot of fun. This is it. We did almost anything that you can think of in this area that we can go out and be active with. We were there, and we did it. So we had, thanks to the outdoor program here, we were able to take them stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, skiing, whatever, you name it, you see it, and we pretty much participated in it. And then these are a list of the cancer topics that we went over. So we wanted to try to educate them at the same time, like what is it that would take for you to live a lifestyle like this, to be outside, to be active? What does that mean, and what kind of knowledge do you need in order to understand that and have that a sustainable life for you? At the beginning, when we had 18, we had about almost 50-50 males, so we were males and females, so we were proud of that, and a good split between 7th and 8th graders as well. We had 70% white, 17 Hispanic, and 11 Asian. We also had the OHSU nursing students come in, and they did blood pressures and heart rates, and we used them, and they were there for 10 weeks as part of their community program. So it was a nice kind of collaboration with OHSU and their program. This was the first week that the program had started before we started doing any activity. These kids were spending about 86 to 87% of their day in sedentary movements. So not doing anything. And then light, about 10%, and then less than that for moderate to vigorous. So any kind of movement at all. Light picks up, this, what I'm doing right now would be considered light on an accelerometer. You have to be very still for sedentary. Minutes of MVPA, they did about 26 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a day at this point. And the reason why we look at moderate to vigorous physical activity is because that's where the recommendation is. So there's a national recommendation that kids get about 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a day. So these kids were 26.03 and less than 5,000 steps a day at baseline. So this is some of the results that we found after the 20-week program. This is based on the self-reported physical activity. And we liked this with the accelerometers because we wanted to see what their perceptions were. Do they feel like they're getting more physically active or doing more than they did before? And we found that there was a significant increase in their report of self-reported physical activity. Now, when we put the accelerometers on them, this is an accelerometer, so that's what it looks like for those of you who don't know, kind of a fancy uppity pedometer. But you can't see anything on it or read it. It just goes straight into the computer and the software. But we did see a decrease in sedentary behavior and an increase in all of the others. Now, none of them were significant. However, if you notice our sample size, 13 of them had valid data at baseline, and then we only had 11 that had valid data. So with accelerometers, they have to wear them at least for 3 to 4 days in order for us to consider it for the week. So a lot of them kind of forgot, took it off, oops, left it in the backpack, whatever. So as long as they don't drop it in the toilet, I'm usually pretty fine. But so we did have an increase, which we felt was a success because it's a pilot study, right, Justin? And it was just meant to look at, like, is this possible? Is this something, is it feasible? Can we do this? So we were really proud of just seeing a movement at all in the direction that we were hoping for. We also found that they reported fewer barriers to being physically active, increase in self-management for physical activity, and increase in enjoyment of physical activity. We also found a decrease in the amount of hours they were watching TV. However, again, not significant, but still proud. We did find a statistical significant increase in their cancer knowledge on the multiple choice test. So we found an increase from baseline to mid and from mid to post. So that was wonderful considering our grant was funded by the Knight Community Partnership Foundation, which is a cancer prevention grant. So we were really excited about that. Well, we did a process evaluation just to see, are you guys even having fun? Do you like this at all? Or what's going on here? So we did a process evaluation, and after all of the, a number of events, we asked, did you like this? Did you learn a new skill? Would you do this outside of the program, and could you think you could do it on your own? And as you can see, it was a 5-point Likert scale, so a 1 to 5 rating, pretty high. I think they were having a good time. And they really, really liked rock climbing, and this was at the indoor gym here because this was the winter events, and then the downhill skiing. For the spring events, after spring break, the second 10 weeks, as you can see again, they really had a good time. They're not a big fan of road biking, which we kind of gathered when we were doing it. But other than that, I mean, backpacking was obviously a huge hit. So this helps us in the development of a next program. Okay, maybe we don't road bike again, or maybe we shouldn't go in the rain and the wind this time. But you learn things as you go. But this one, I mean, they felt like they could do it on their own, they learned new skills. I mean, the ratings on a 5-point Likert scale, these are really, really great. We also did the focus group, and we came up with 5 main themes from the focus group. The first theme was that students liked the program. We were pretty excited about that. We did an hour-long focus group with all of them there, and then we had the data analyzed by a professional in Texas, and so we were really excited when it came back because we didn't want anything to do with it to make sure that it was completely not biased. And when we got this, we're like, yes, we did it. The second one was students learn new skills and activities while being active outside. And then the third one's probably one of my favorites, was that they had a positive effect on their confidence and their self-esteem. So that was pretty neat. They also felt like they could do these things for lifelong commitment to fitness, and that was the whole goal. That's what we wanted, really. They also really liked our leaders, so we were good to, I was happy to hear that as well, even if they bike really, really fast sometimes. We also surveyed the parents, and this was, we didn't really hear much from the parents the entire program, so when they came for the final, we were just like, well, this is interesting. Let's see how this goes. And they were overwhelmingly positive about what their kids had gone through. If you look at this, again, 5-point Likert scale, you're happy your kid was in the program, your kid enjoyed the program, talks about it, I would recommend this. So again, we're very excited to see this, and we're really positive about these results as well. We had a lot of qualitative data on there, so we had some questions that they could answer, and if you want to just kind of read through these, it was really important for us to kind of understand what it is that they did like about the program or what they would like to see changed. And these are some quotes from the parents and from their surveys. They felt like their kids had more self-esteem, more outgoing, they're fun and excited about being active. One of the things that we heard that we really liked is that they were so excited that they didn't have to be an athlete to be in this program. So to understand our population, when they started, they didn't want anything to do with this. They were like, I hate PE. It's just terrifying. And it was really interesting because during this focus group, we're like, so do you guys like PE? And they're like, no, we hate it at the very end still. And so it was an interesting thing for us to learn that these kids can be active just in a different environment that maybe isn't competitive, that's very supportive. A couple more quotes from parents is they found that their kid did a complete turnaround. They came out of their shell, exciting, and enjoy the love of the outdoors, and maybe just enjoys life a little bit more. So, I mean, you can't argue with a quote like that from a parent. We couldn't have done this without the involvement of the entire community. We had partners all over, which was the reason why it's sustainable and successful. Anthony Lakes, again, gave us that great deal, and the kids went up there multiple times. The EOU outdoor program, the kids were able to use all this gear and participate in activities that they never, ever would have been able to. And they can use that gear still as being part of this program. Parks and Rec gave us a little bus that we got to drive around, and they gave us they provided the driver and the bus for us for transportation. That was another thing that you see a lot of times in the literature, is the number one barrier for kids to being active in the outdoors is transportation. So Parks and Rec really helped us with that. LeGrand Middle School gave us the place and gave us the students. That was absolutely a huge help. Mountain Works gave us free rentals on bicycles to go mountain biking, so they just usually, they charge per hour for those, and they gave them to us for the entire day a couple times, which was wonderful. Blue Mountain Outfitters, they did a couple lectures on how to fit backpacks, and they gave them lectures on the different gear and how it works, and then provided them with gift certificates. Fish and Wildlife gave us fishing poles and steelhead to dissect, which I don't know if that was a hit. We didn't really ask about that one. Someone didn't like that one. We had a great partnership with OHSU nursing program. We had 2 of their students doing their community project, and they came in and just fit right in and helped us. Oh, it was just wonderful having them. And then the Union County Coalition, Fit Kids Coalition, is a great partner in helping us understand the community before, and then being supportive of us the entire time. So I would like for you guys to, whoa, no, don't do that, to take a minute and watch this. If it'll work. Uh-oh. Okay. Does it have volume?
The idea of the grant came around, like, let's get these kids that are normally not active, that aren't involved in sports, and let's teach them all of these lifestyle activities that they need to do after school. And then when they get into high school, hopefully they increase their self-confidence and their self-efficacy and their self-determination, and they're intrinsically motivated to be more active on their own, and that they'll do these things for the rest of their lives. The literature also shows that kids that are more active and spend more time outside are less likely to participate in risky behaviors, such as drinking, smoking, getting in trouble. The first day it was, I'm lazy, I'm not doing any of these things.
They're all really quiet and like hesitant to do anything. They almost didn't want to do it. There was a lot of fear in some of the activities.
They're starting to develop these identities that they're not active, that they're lazy, that they're not coordinated. And then watching that change and just seeing them try all these things and succeed at them, and going up the chairlift for the first time, or riding a mountain bike for the first time, or making it up to the top of the rock wall.
They're coming out of their shell a lot more. They're a lot more comfortable with everything they're doing. You hear Brandon say things, like he's just happy to be outside. He loves all the stuff we've done.
None of them knew each other before starting. And one of the things that I've seen them do a lot is encourage each other and be extremely positive and supportive for all of them, because they're all kind of at the same level. And so to watch them clap for each other when they make it across the bridge or to the top of the rock wall, or just trying new things, and how positive and encouraging they are to each other, is just one of the things that kind of surprised me. They make me so happy and make me smile so much when they are just so nice to each other and encouraging and positive.
Like the other day, we were sitting there, we were having a lecture on healthy lifestyles. I was sitting next to Lydia, and she says, I've started running now, And that, my jaw dropped, because at the very beginning, she was like, I'm lazy, I don't do anything, I just sit down, I like taking tests and that sort of stuff. And now she's on her own without the program. She's going on runs, which is fantastic.
Actually, he had a dentist appointment and missed like half the school, and he was like, Dad, take me back. So then he came back from the program instead of just missing all the school.
It has been helping my confidence a lot, because whenever I go to school, I feel happy about myself. That, I can do this or that, and I don't have to worry about the negative possibilities.
Definitely been helping me get out more, have more fun, try new things.
Since I started this program, my grades have gone up. I think it just keeps me more aware and focused. I actually feel fitter and more active. I like that you can experience new things while getting to meet new people.
I have seen kids say things like, never in a million years would I thought I could do something like this. It's unreal. They are just so excited, and they look at me like, is there another word for elated? Because that's me right now. It's fun to watch them kind of try things that they never ever would have thought about before.
If any of you are out there that really want to do this, just say so. Don't be scared. Don't be nervous.
I probably should stop that because it's going to keep playing, isn't it? How do I get back to it? Okay. Okay, good. All right, so next steps. Currently, we are waiting to hear back from the funders for the next tier of funding. The first project was funded through the Knight Community Partnership Foundation, and they have different tiers of grants. The first one is tier 1 to develop it. Tier 2 is to test a pilot intervention, and tier 3 is full-on intervention, and so that's what we're waiting back to hear from now. The idea is that we will expand it to Baker County through that and have it in LeGrand as well, again, with a new addition of the teen leaders, and the teen leaders are all the participants from last year. So we've gone and asked them all to come back. I think it's all but one, Emily, or two that didn't move away, and so we have about 8 or 9 of them that are coming back to help and are ecstatic about it. So that's kind of a new piece that we have, and we'll do some measurement pieces on that. And then even beyond that, we are going to apply for some more funding to try to come up and develop a Train the Trainers program so that we can kind of have a nice little package, go out, train other communities on this, and hopefully disseminate this program as far as we possibly can for other communities. And then we added some additional measurements this year, attendance, GPA, those type of things, because that's what we were hearing anecdotally through the principal and through other people, that the grades had gone up, that they were going to school more, so we're going to start measuring those a little bit more this time as well. I have to do a huge, massive special thanks, especially there's Justin, he was my master's student last year, and Emily, who's my master's student this year. That would be absolutely nowhere without them, and that is not even an exaggeration. They work endless amount of hours coordinating the gear, the trips, the leaders, the kids, and then going out, and after spending all that time coordinating, putting the energy into it as well. So it's pretty amazing. Justin, Emily, and then Cheyenne and Kat were the other 2 capstone students that I had last year. Also the participants for being there. Couldn't have done it without Michael Hatch in the EOU outdoor program, that's for sure. And Parks and Rec, the middle school, UC Fit Kids. I've said those before, Anthony Lakes, and then the physical activity and health department. Special thanks to Kyle Pfaffenbach for helping me write the grant and put it together, and also training the students for the cancer lectures throughout the entire term. And then nothing would have gotten done at all without Beth and Lori. So thank you guys very much. And questions? Yes. Oh.
We have a mic, so
Oh.
you might have to speak up because we are streaming.
Here, I'll give this to Denise.
So I have a middle schooler, and I know almost all those kids, so thank you very much for working with them. It's so fabulous to see them happy like that and interacting with each other. I was curious about the measure that got passed with this last round of voting for the outdoor school program, and whether you see an overlap between this work and what will happen as the state rolls out that funding.
Yeah, that's a good question. The funding is, well, I don't see it directly related to this because it's more of school, and this was trying to just get them to move a little bit more. But I have been talking to some of the directors of that program and actually seeing if we can measure physical activity in outdoor school and see what the difference is between that and classroom, and if there's a way to connect them in that way. So I think that would be a really interesting next step or study as well. Yeah. Here you go, Dan.
So Kelly, I saw one interesting thing on one of your slides where you were doing the post survey with parents, and the parents were all just very impressed with the changes in their children. But the last question was, would you like to participate with your students, with your child? And that was a lot lower. Have you thought about incorporating that aspect in the program with parents and children together?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that we contemplated quite a bit. We had a couple of the kids that really wanted their parents to go on the camping trip. We thought with the pilot study we would start not without the parents, just to see how it would go. And then whenever the parents were around, the kids completely and totally changed, and their dynamic changed, and their group interactions changed. They came a little bit more quiet, withdrawn. Would you agree with that, Justin? Yeah. So we decided that that really wasn't something that we were that interested in. Junior high's an interesting age. You know, they're kind of pulling away from their parents, but they still kind of, you know, and they're just, so we've thought about incorporating them. We thought about taking some on the backpacking trip, and then when it came down to it, we opened it up, and then no one came. So yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's one that I get asked quite a bit, is what is the parent component. But I do feel like if we give them enough skills in this environment, they're getting ready to move on to high school. And so my hope is that they're in high school, they're a little bit more independent, they can come down to the outdoor program, and then they can start doing these activities kind of on their own a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kelly, could you say something about those social cognitive variables that you were talking about? That's something I don't know anything about.
Yeah, so it's a behavior change theory, and it's one of the theories that we use the most when it comes to increasing physical activity. So there's an entire field of behavior change, and there's all these different theories out there, and some fit different activities a little bit better than others. And they have all of these different ways that you can help increase physical activity and hopefully make it something that is sustainable for the rest of their lives to increase their self-efficacy. So these variables that you use, such as observational learning, that was them watching each other succeed or watching the leaders try something for the first time, and then it increases their likelihood and willingness to try that activity as well. So in order for something to be concrete, sustainable, and effective, we wanted to build it on a theory and not just be like, let's just play outside. So the idea is that it makes it so it's something that has some kind of, it has research behind it.
There's something you can measure.
Yeah, and we can measure it. Yeah, measure all the variables for it. Yeah. Yeah.
What measurement did the principal use in selecting the kids?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we asked him if we could. Again, we asked him, how can we get kids that are not currently involved in sports, that aren't really doing anything after school. So we weren't really looking for kids that kind of had 4-H and FFA and all, that were very connected already. So we were looking for ones that were kind of just not doing much after school. And he sat down with the counselor, and they came up with a list of 30, and we wrote them all letters, and just for a pilot program, it worked pretty well.
Excellent.
To start, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alyssa.
What advice would you give to physical education teachers, given that you didn't see any change in their desire or motivation or interest in physical education, whereas they spend a lot of time with those teachers, and they can obviously have a huge impact if given a good opportunity? What advice would you give?
Yeah, you could probably answer that better than me.
I couldn't hear the question.
Okay. Yeah, so her question was, what advice would I have for physical education teachers in order to help them, because they spend so much time with the students, because they still didn't change their attitude about PE? Okay. So my answer to that would be not making any kind of competition, and then introducing them to things that aren't, I guess rock climbing is intimidating, but small steps, exposing them in little increments. They were all at about the same level, so that made it really easy for us, because we didn't have this person that was really, really good, and then this one's kind of embarrassed. So I think our situation was really easy in that way, but I think with a PE teacher, lifestyle activities, yoga, biking, those type of things, as best as you possibly can, and getting away from any kind of competitive thing. I know as a competitive person, that's hard to say. It's pretty true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What challenges are you anticipating with scalability?
Yeah. A lot. I think that it's just the quality control. What is it? So Baker is amazing. They are hiring a PE teacher to do all of this, so they're paying for a teacher because they don't have school on Fridays. So theirs is not going to be an after-school program. It's going to be a Friday program. So it'll be the same amount of hours, but only on Fridays. and it'll be Fridays for 20 weeks. But they're paying a PE teacher. So it'll be interesting because that's something that, we're gonna have to talk about and work with, and how is this different? And so, yeah, just kind of, that's why it's, it's a research study, right? So what did we do wrong? What do we need to change, and how can we make this better? And I think having the trainer, once we get the curriculum down and test that, that'll be a little bit easier for, quality control. Plus, time and resources and those type of things, yeah. Because Baker doesn't have access to the outdoor program like we do. So that piece is a little bit more challenging too.
Have you considered doing any measures of physical fitness pre-post for these students to see? Anecdotally, they may be talking about, I don't get out of breath as quickly or anything, but that might be an intimidation factor for them. I was just wondering, are you looking at that anecdotally? Are you just kind of making observations of kids? Are you noticing did you notice any differences?
Yeah, so I have two things to go on with that, because it is something that is interesting, but honestly, for me, my biggest goal is to increase physical activity, and I just want them to move more. And so if we've done that, then we've because that's my lifestyle, that's your lifestyle piece, right, that you're gonna have forever. The other reason that we didn't do it is because the only ways to do it are, like either a step test or these things that we just didn't want to turn them off right away. Like, okay, ready? 1.5 mile run, let's go. And so we didn't really want to go there at all at the beginning of this program. We have talked about it for this next one, so we're moving more towards Fitbits with heart rate monitors, and we run into the grant to buy that for all the kids, and then we're going to track data that way, and you can kind of look at heart rates and do a little bit more of that's less intimidating. But yeah, it was more of, I just didn't want to scare them away. Yeah. Yes.
It strikes me that both the type of activities and the absence of parents and the age group really resembles summer camp, and much more so than, say, PE class. Have you explored that similarity at all? Or?
The similarity of summer camp?
Yeah, it just, I don't know how you do it. Interactions with people who run camps, or whether there's some fruitful line of inquiry there. That's all.
Yeah. I think I can kind of see where you're going. The part about a camp, though, is that your whole environment is set up for that couple weeks, and you're really active, and then your whole system goes away. And so now you don't have, the coach and the encouragement and the slack line and all right in your area. So this was more to try to develop skills and interest for lifestyle activities and then that exposure over and over. We rock climbed how many times? A lot. So we went rock climbing, and then now they can go up and they can use the gym when they want to, and they know where it's at, and they know how to belay, and they know how to tie knots. And so that was and it was in their community. It was out their back door. So that was our goal.
You talk about the paucity of transportation for these kids to a place like Mira or other places. Do you see an improvement in that countywide, so that because some families don't even have cars to take their kids to Mira?
Yeah, as far as public transportation too, that would be cool. To Mira and to Morgan Lake and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Yeah, it's something I haven't thought about. It's pretty neat.
Talk to the mayor.
Yeah, I know a mayor.
I don't have anything to do with public transit.
I have a connection with public transit.
Okay. Yes.
Two quick things. I think I saw on the parent survey, the parents were saying that their child was not watching television as much. I didn't see a question that talked about lessons on their handheld video stuff as much, and I would recommend that be included in there.
That's a great.
And the other activity I was just thinking about that might be of interest, and you might get some support, would be golfing, either from the country club or out at Buffalo Peak. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
another time.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, moms were making suggestions. Archery club.
Oh, yeah, we did think about that one.
You need to have a lot of liability insurance.
Yeah. As the board says.
Any other questions for Kelly? If not, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you. You're gonna get a sticker. There's stickers with our old logo on it.
There are bags in the back.
One. Perfect.
My hands are freezing. I'm so nervous.